Hi friends, this is Mr. Matt coming to you from my backyard. I hope that you are all doing well. I do have a message for you this morning. It's from our gospel reading from John chapter 9. And in this story about Jesus today, Jesus comes across a blind man. And in seeing the blind man, everyone asks, what has this man done wrong, or what did his family do wrong that he's blind? And Jesus says, no, he didn't do anything that would make him to be blind. He was just born blind. And then he reaches down and he gets some dirt, and then he spits in it. Ew. And then he mixes it up in his hand to make it into a muddy paste. And then he puts it over the man's eyes. And he tells the blind man to go to the pool of Siloam and to wash his eyes off in the pool. So the man does, and he finds his way to the pool of Siloam, and he washes off, and all of a sudden, for the first time in his life, he can see. Now, after he gets used to all the light and trying to figure out what all these things are that he's seeing for the first time, he heads back to his own neighborhood, to his own family. And as he gets to his neighborhood, he starts telling people, it's like, you won't believe what happened. This man named Jesus, he put some mud in my eyes and told me to wash in the pool, and now I can see. And the people in his neighborhood that had seen him around and had begging on the streets and had known him maybe when he was a boy, they all start saying, really? Is this really the same person? Is this someone else? And he keeps saying, no, Jesus did this for me. He helped me, so now I can see. Well, the people weren't sure what to think of that, and so they brought in some of the religious leaders, and they said, tell the religious leaders your story. So the man repeated the story about how Jesus had made some mud, put it over his eyes, told him to wash in the pool, and that he did, and now that he could see. And the religious leaders that were there and the people, they were kept coming up with all kinds of reasons why they should not believe what the man was saying, and why they should not believe what they were hearing about what Jesus had done. Some of the people said this must be some sort of trick, and they thought that maybe it was just somebody that looked like the blind man who had shown up, and people were trying to trick them. Other people just said, no, this is impossible. Nothing like this could happen. People don't suddenly, come along and with mud make people see. And then some other people said, no, this is probably just some sort of coincidence, that it was something in the water at the pool. It probably had nothing to do with Jesus at all. And so they came up with all of these excuses about what they didn't want to believe. But the blind man, he knew what had happened, and he shared what Jesus had done, no matter what anybody else was saying. He was the only one who could see what God's love had done for him in his life. Now, this story gives us a lot to think about as well, because there are a whole lot of people in the world who spend a lot of time trying to think about the reasons why they don't want to believe or don't want to see God at work in the world. And they come up with those same kind of reasons as we saw in the story. It's a coincidence, it's a trick, it's impossible. They just don't want to see it. But we can learn from the blind man, because the blind man was able to, one, he was able to see what Jesus had done. Quite literally, he was now able to see. But he was able to see what God's love had done in his life. Two, he knew what God had done. He remembered what it was like to be blind, and he knew that Jesus was responsible for him seeing. So he knew that Jesus and God working through Jesus had done these things for him. And three, the man went out and shared what he knew and what he had seen with other people, to try to share what God can do in the world. We're supposed to do those same three things. We're supposed to, one, keep our eyes open and to see what God is doing. Two, we're supposed to know what God's love can do, and to know it as we see it happening in our life. And three, we're supposed to share that love and to share what we've seen and what we know about God with other people. So, see and know and share. Those are our three lessons from the blind man. Now, this week, I'd like for you to take on a project. I would like for you to go out and see if you can find 3 things or 3 ways where you see and know how God is taking care of you. And then once you've figured out what those 3 things are, I'd like for you to share it. You can certainly share it with your family, but I'd also like for you to maybe think about sharing those 3 things with me. Get with your parents or someone else in your family and have them send me a message. And you can write me a little note and just say, Mr. Matt, I hope you're doing well. Here are the 3 things that I see and know about Jesus and God and what they're doing in my life, and I'm sharing them with you. And I look forward to seeing those messages. I hope that you all are well. I look forward until the time that we're back together again. But in the meantime, remember how much God loves you, and remember your church family loves you too. Bye-bye.